is spring and it is time to start gardening. So we sent someone who does not have a green thumb to get all the nursery tips. Of course, talking about Cambi Brown. Oh, wow, turned into a little bit of a flower yourself, Cambi. Good morning.
Yeah, that's right. So I found these at Target for $1, so you know the price was right. And I thought it was perfect for spring. But then, after talking to Jerry, who owns White Nursery, I realized he was cool enough that he would want to wear one too. So we're the little flowers this morning, and we're talking about flowers. Coincidence? I think not. So let's start with the annuals. And what are the annual flowers?
The annual flowers are flowers that actually bloom continuously during their season. So there's cool season annuals that die when it gets hot, and there's warm season annuals that we're planting right now that keep going until it gets really cold. So some really beautiful selections, and the ones that you normally see around. There's things like Sweet Alyssum.
Okay.
Very nice plant there.
And then these only last about 6 months or so, you're saying?
Right. So these will bloom, if you plant them now, they're going to bloom probably through November, even December. So it's a very long season, so It's well worthwhile, but they bloom almost continuously. So easy to grow, wide variety, things like alyssum, you have plants like marigolds you see very commonly, work very nicely. And one I really like that's not quite as common but do very well is cosmos.
Okay, and do the annuals have a really good fragrance?
Some do, and that's the difference depending on flower type to flower type. So typically like, no smell.
Okay, but these ones did.
But the Sweet Alyssum has a very nice smell. Very, very nice and very fragrant. So works very well. So you can plant them from bedding plants like this. You see them very commonly in your local nursery or your big box store. Very easy to plant, all ready to go, and with flowers already.
Okay, so to do this, you just have to dig the hole and then just plant them in, right? Is there any trick?
Au contraire, we actually do a little bit more.
Okay.
Yes, we should use a good planting mix like Harvest Supreme and Bacchus there. And if you have real bad soil, consider using the Garden Max, which will actually restructure your soil and allow you to be successful.
Okay, and you don't want to dig the hole too deep, right? That's one of the tips?
Then, well, if you do dig that deep, that's fine. Go ahead and amend it with the mix, but plant it on a bump. Make it a little bit on the high side. Works very well.
All right, and we have some of that information on the screen for people who maybe are not, sitting there with a pen and paper and want to get some of that information. So the trick is not to dig the hole too deep and to use some of this stuff like the Garden Max to make it last, right?
That's a big difference. That's right. Now, if you find that it's a little too expensive, doesn't meet your budget, you can always plant it from seed. And this is the way people used to do it years ago, and still do, but very economical. Here's $1.59. There's probably about 60 seeds in here.
Okay, and then you just put it in here.
Put it in here.
Did they call ahead and tell you that I'm cheap, so you knew that I would like something like that?
Everybody is.
Okay.
Buy your own greenhouse.
I like it. All right. So coming up, we're going to talk to you about a different type of flowers, the perennial. So that's straight ahead, Layla.
And of course, I'm the garden lover, so I am loving every minute of this. I might send you a little shopping list later for me. How about it?
Okay, you can tell me which flowers you want.
All right, sounds like a plan. Thanks, Cambi.
Right now, it doesn't seem like it outside, but it is officially spring, and it's time to start gardening. So we send someone who does not have a green thumb at all out there to learn more about it. Cambi Brown is at White Nursery to get some tips. Cambi, I'm in the same boat with you. I'm not real good when it comes to growing plants. In fact, I got a bunch of dead ones in my backyard now.
Oh my gosh, that's the story of my life, John. I'm the same way, which is why we're here this morning to find out how we can make it so our plants do not die. Now, earlier we talked about annuals, and now we're going to talk about perennials. And the perennials, what type of flowers are those?
So perennials are plants that live from year to year. So they're very nice in that you don't have to replant. It's a long-lasting plant, but they will only bloom during their season, which could be as long as 6 months, but during the rest of the time they're just green or could even be dormant.
Okay, and so sometimes you plant these and then all of a sudden they never come up the next year or they die. You don't know what's going on. So what are the tips for planting these types of flowers?
What do you mean sometimes? All the time. Don't you have that problem? I know everybody has that problem. Well, the key is getting them planted correctly. Pick the proper plant for the proper location. So if it's a plant that needs sun, we'll put it in the sun. Shade needs the shady plants. But the key to it really is in the planting of it.
Okay.
And a lot of times we'll find that our perennials are very tightly rooted. And if we pop it in the ground like this, it's going to stay just like this.
Okay, so you want to pull the roots out.
really important just to loosen them up. Now, we don't have to tear them off or anything like that, but we want to loosen them just a little bit so they have a little bit of space.
Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty.
Don't be afraid to get the hands dirty.
Okay, and then is there any certain thing with the soil that you need to do once you pull these roots apart?
It's really important that you use a good planting mix like Harvest Supreme, but most importantly, it's very important that you mend the soil. And we talked earlier about the Garden Max, and that is the key. It's really going to fix the soil and make these plants like these Gerber daisies that are really hard to grow be very successful. So most often, you've planted these before, haven't you?
No, I just get them from the grocery store and then they die like 2
you never
days later.
got to the planting stage.
Heck no, I try and avoid the planting. I'm so terrible. No, you're encouraging me though that I might be able to do this.
Well, most people do love these and lose at least half, but if you follow these steps, you're going to be very successful. So number one, dig a nice hole about twice the size container, twice as wide, twice as deep.
Okay, twice as wide and twice as deep. Okay.
So good size hole. We're going to blend that planting mix like that Harvest Supreme that we talked about, half planting mix, half existing soil.
Okay.
Now here's the key, plant it on a bump. This needs to be above ground level. Do not plant it even. Do not plant it in a hole.
You want to have like how much sticking up?
About 1 inch of this root ball should be above soil level.
Okay.
Real important you do that. And then the last thing, if you put that Garden Max on top, will ensure that you have the drainage, proper nutrients, trace elements, and all the bionutrition that you need to be successful.
Okay. And John, this could save you money with the ladies because then you will not have to buy the flowers at the grocery store. You could just get them in your backyard.
Very
what do you
good
think?
thinking right there.
I have the tips.
That is a good. That's a good idea right there. All right, Cambi, thank you very much.
Spring has arrived. That means it's start to gardening time. So we sent someone who does not have a green thumb. That would be Cambi Brown. But Cambi, I gotta tell you, apparently I'm doing something wrong, right?
Yes. Okay. So Layla called me and said, "Hey, these are the flowers that I am looking for." And so we have the begonias for you,
Ooh, perfect.
Layla. And then the other one that you wanted that I've never even heard of.
Nasturtium.
What are they called again?
It's called nasturtium.
Everybody should have nasturtiums.
Yep. Okay, so you have those, but the snapdragons that Layla wanted, there's a problem with those, right, Jerry? What's the problem with the snapdragons right now?
They're a beautiful plant, but it's a cool season annual. Means they're going to be dying here about another month or so. So it's not the time to plant those.
Okay, so Layla needs to plant those when?
You want to plant them maybe as early as September, but October, November, and the fall is a great time. They bloom all fall, winter, and into the spring, and then they die when it gets hot.
Okay,
Well, 2
so
out of 3 ain't bad, right?
Yeah, so these ones you can still get though, Layla, just not the snapdragons. You have to wait a little bit. Now, when you're doing gardening, you want to think of this just like kind of how you do with your house. So you have the walls, the ceiling. So kind of explain to us about the bushes and the trees that you can do.
Well, the thing is, you're going to landscape your great room, your outdoor room, just like you would the house. So let's think about the floors. So you can use your begonias as floors, or the erodium, the ground covers here, the very low-lying plants. But then we want to move up, and let's talk about the walls, plants that get a little taller. Anything from the dwarf sweet pea bush to this beautiful plants here, as well as your favorite, the flowering almond.
Okay.
These are medium-sized plants. They're going to get somewhere between 3 to 6 feet tall that are going to form your walls of your garden.
But we can go back here and go even taller, right?
That's right. So now we talk about the ceiling. So we're talking blooming plants today. So these are plants that bloom, but they only bloom for a shorter period of time. But this is a red bud tree, so it's going to give you the ceiling of your garden. It's going to give you the height. It's going to give you a nice look. But we want to be very careful how we select our plants so that we can have things that bloom throughout the season.
Okay. Now, Layla, how many of these begonias and this other green plant here? Nasturtiums. Nasturtiums. I'm going to get it, Jerry, eventually. Nasturtiums. How many of these do you need, Layla?
I need more begonias than nasturtium, but that's just because I'm a huge begonia fan.
Are you liking these ones right here or these ones over here?
I like the ones on your left. Those are the wax begonias, right? I think they're so cute.
These ones right here?
Yep.
The green and the pink? Okay. All right. I think those will look good.
Hey, those even match you today, so you would look really cute walking around with those.
I what?
You look really cute just walking around with those because they match you, right?
I had to be a flower this morning, yep. Not your begonia, though. I'm not sure what type of flower this is. The dollar one from Target.
The dollar flower from Cambi Brown. Thanks, Cambi. We sent Cambi Brown, who apparently does not have a green thumb, but it might be getting a little greener now, right?
Yeah, it is getting a little greener because I'm finding out everything that I had no idea about any of this. So if people want to save money, they can plant edibles, but not only can they get fruits and veggies out of it, but they can also get some color in their either an apartment. You can actually do this in your apartment or in their garden.
That's right. And we've been talking about color. So you get color. Here's the citrus. Yes, the flower isn't real spectacular, but it's very fragrant.
Yeah, it does. It smells really good.
And you get the fruit, so you get the color from the flower, from the fruit, and it stays green year-round. So it really works very well from citrus, and there's all different kinds that you can do. You can pick your favorites, but you can also pick some stone fruits. Like into the side of this here, we've got nectarines are in full bloom.
Okay.
Just beautiful color there.
All right, perfect. And then moving on up here, we can do veggies, right? And I was telling Jerry, I said, Jerry, I live in an apartment. I can't do this. And he said, au contraire.
And do this.
That's right. Okay, so I need something like this, right?
Right. You can have your own raised garden. It's just as simple as something you can build or something you can buy. But there's a world of veggies that you can do simply getting your raised bed, using a simple, good quality potting soil like this Kellogg's. And then you've got a variety of veggies you can plant, either from seed or from plants. And you get color from the plants themselves. This lettuce is wonderful with this nice red variety. You get this very nice, roughly green variety here. It's absolutely spectacular.
Any tricks to doing this the right way? What are the wrong ways to do this and the right way?
The key is to do the success package, and what you need to do is get the proper planting mix, number one. You got to be blending it with the soil, number two. Use the NutriPack, which is going to fertilize for 3 full years, so when you forget to, it's going to have food.
Okay.
And use that Garden Max we've talked about several times, and that's so important because it's a unique material that will really make you successful in the garden.
Now, Jerry, will those keep blooming? Is that what you call it? Will they keep growing?
They will keep on growing, and here we're talking about the apartment right over here, Cambi. And you were talking about vegetables in your apartment, but here's a way to do fruit trees in your apartment too, because you can do high density plantings, more than one plant in the same hole or in the same container. And as long as you do the success pack, we're talking about the planting mix, we're talking about the NutriPacks that feed for 3 years, the Garden Max, and the all organic fertilizers. You do this combination, you will be successful.
And how much money can this save you over time?
Thousands of dollars, but more importantly, it's money savings. What is important is the fruit quality, the nutrition. You're controlling the factors. You don't have any pesticides. You don't have any bad things that you do not want to have. And more importantly, you get the varieties you like.
Okay, Layla, I know you're all about this because you're the one who asked me to find out about this. So what do you think? Would you do something like this at your house?
I have done in an apartment. I've actually had a lemon tree, if you would imagine, and it works out pretty well. It is a can do. So thanks for the tips. Yeah, thanks for the tips, Cambi.